For everything, there is a season. So I'm going to be reading from Ecclesiastes, the third chapter, on today. It says, "For everything, there is a season, a time for every activity under heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to harvest, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to tear down and a time to build up, a time to cry and a time to laugh, a time to grieve and a time to dance, a time to scatter stones and a time to gather stones, a time to embrace and a time to turn away, a time to search and a time to quit searching, a time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to tear and a time to tear and a time to mend, a time to be quiet and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time for war and a time for peace." We are in the season of transition and a season of war. And we must understand how to begin to pray through the storms. One of the most important ways you can begin to pray during the storms is to begin to develop and strengthen and to increase your relationship with God through prayer. If you don't know who I am, I'm Dr. Deborah. I'm the author of The Scribe of Watchmen and the co-founder of the Writers Inkhorn International. And I'm just here on this Thursday morning for another Inkhorn Conversation. What I'm going to start doing, just to let you know, is I'm going to go ahead and start recording these messages and upload them on a weekly basis. So I want to encourage you to like, subscribe, turn on your notification. Not only will I be giving Inkhorn Conversations various lessons from the Inkhorn, but I'm also going to be sharing other ways, practical things you can be doing in regards to prayer, and maybe occasionally, as God leads me, to do prophetic words. You see, we are in such a interesting time in this season and in this hour. It's a time where we must position ourselves to hear God, to not listen to what mainstream media is saying, not listen to what you hear on the radio, not engage and pour into your spirit what's taking place. As far as I'm concerned, I don't recall a time where we have been so involved in the war that is going on in other countries. It's like the news media will feed you and feed you and feed you until you take on that spirit of fear, that spirit of anxiety, that spirit of worry. Let me tell you, the best thing we can do for what's going on now is to uphold the arms of the people of Ukraine in prayer. We must begin to uphold them and to release our weapons of warfare, which is prayer, praise. These are weapons of warfare, singing praises to God. God is going to show himself mightily. And just as Russia is invading Ukraine, God is going to invade Russia. God is going to invade China. God is going to invade all these strongholds that have been going on in the earth. He's about to release his glory into the earth. He's about to release his kingdom is pushing down as sons and daughters. He says, greater is he that is in us than he that is in the world. We must begin to press in prayer. You know, I know some people believe that you don't have to pray all over the place. If you don't know how to pray, just say, Lord, have mercy. Lord, have mercy. Lord, have mercy. Begin to pray the Lord's Prayer. He gave us a prayer, a pattern of prayer, and how we can pray on a daily basis. Look up the Lord's Prayer and begin to pray the Lord's Prayer. Cover your minds, cover your eye gates, cover your ear gates, because we are being attacked by the media through their insensitivity of what's going on. They are so insensitive and they do not care about you and what's going on in your household. As you get in that place of prayer and begin to pray during the times when the storms are coming, I want to encourage you to begin to also listen. Listen for how God can give you the instructions and how to move and to navigate in this season of transition, in this season of war. It's so important. One of the things that I want to encourage people to do, and that I feel is a part of our ministry, is to teach you how to learn how to hear God, to discern his voice, to get into his presence, so that you are able to know for yourself his voice, because you don't know when the enemy, in which way he's going to attack, unless you have Holy Spirit teaching you all things, even the things to come. When Christ left the earth, he left us a comforter. He left us an advocate. He left us a teacher, someone that was going to help us maneuver in this season, in the season that's right now. We don't want to allow fear to saturate our spirits, but we want to hear God with such great clarity that we know how to pray with accuracy. The only way you can pray with accuracy is if you know his voice. If you know his voice, you can begin to pray. You can begin to strategize. You can know how to move for yourself, for your family, for your friends. You can hear God's voice. He speaks to us. He speaks to all of us. Some of us are prophetic because we have a greater sensitivity to his voice, and we position ourselves in a consecrated, sanctified way so that we can hear his voice. We're always listening. Prophetic people are always listening. They're always looking. They're always trying to discern what God is doing, how he's moving. But he says, in the last days, I will pour out my spirit on all flesh. Your sons and your daughters will prophesy. He's going to give us all the ability to have dreams and visions and to prophesy. He said, your young men will dream dreams and your old men will have visions. We want to begin to get into the word, to know how to pray through the storms. When the storms come, we have to intensify our prayer life. We have to begin to journal. We have a listening prayer journal. I want to encourage you to journal. I want to encourage you to spend time in the morning giving gratitude, entering into his gates with thanksgiving and into his courts with praise. I want you to begin to use your weapons of prayer. That's one thing the enemy cannot take from you, prayer. He cannot take from you prayer. You can pray silently. You can pray out loud. There's various types of prayer. So I want to encourage you on today to get into God's face, to get into his presence, to begin to know how he's moving in this new season. There's a lot that's taking place, but God is in control. He already snatched the keys from the enemy. He already unlocked the gates of Hades. He's preparing a place for us, but he wants us to occupy until he comes. Keep your oil lamps filled, but don't just keep them filled. Also carry extra oil, because there are going to be those that's going to run out of oil in this season. And when they come to you, you're going to have to tell them to go and buy their own. We're in a season where we have to know God for ourselves, to discern his voice. So bask in the time that we have right now, learning how to hear his voice. The best way and the easiest way I want to encourage you to do is to journal every day. Get into that quiet place. It doesn't have to be a long time, but just engage in listening. After you have said what you needed to say, listen, look, see, feel, sense. However God speaks to you, he wants to speak to you in this hour. We want to position ourselves to abide under his shadow, not be in and out. Until next time, this is Dr. Deborah signing out.